Hey folks, I'm totally not named Dan, though you can call me that if you want, and today I'm back for another video to cover the new June 2013 Ban and Errata list from Jasco Games for the My Hero Academia and similar card game. To talk about that with me, I've brought in my buddy Jota, who's been quite significantly affected by this change.
Hello everyone.
So this month we have one update to the Ban and Errata, or B&E as they insist on putting it in brackets list. The card One with Nature will be banned in the My Hero Academia block constructed format, effective Monday, June 12th. This video will hopefully be up before then, but we'll see.
Yeah, can't say I'm really surprised. There's been quite a bit of uproar over One with Nature not being banned since the last ban list, I guess.
Yeah, but the
So,
community are always calling for something to be banned, and honestly,
mhm.
I think it's kind of toxic.
That is true, yeah. If it's just because people constantly call for the ban, that is a bit awkward.
Yeah,
But as I'm saying, I'm just saying that I'm not surprised that this is being banned. Whether it is a
yeah.
good or bad ban is a different question, I guess, yeah.
But on those grounds, I'm quite happy that Jiro still hasn't been banned despite people calling for it, because Jiro is not a problem. Jiro has not been a problem. The last provisionals I was at, yeah, we had 3 Jiros there. I think one of them came top 3?
Yeah, one of them came for 3, and I don't see Jiro as much of a problem. It's a really good deck, but I think good decks should exist, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't think that
yeah.
we should ban decks just because they're good for a long time. I mean, what are we doing there? Are we just power creeping all the decks? That doesn't seem good, in my opinion. So I
Well,
don't think
it's
Jiro
the
should be
opposite
it.
of power creeping older decks. It's banning older decks so that new decks can compete, or rather,
Hmm.
new decks can be seriously good without actually making new decks even the same level as the older ones, if you do that.
I see, I see. The only way I could see some kind of Jiro ban is if it was something like, I don't know, Seizing the Advantage, which is not definitely a Jiro card, but it's really good in Jiro. If you would ban something like that, which I wouldn't, but if you would, that would be like, okay, I kind of get it.
And
But if
people
it
have
was
been
like,
calling for seizing the advantage as well. There is an argument to be made for that, but
yeah, I can see
now I
the
think
argument
that's
definitely.
fine.
Yeah, I think all these arguments about banning certain cards are always going to be a little bit controversial. They're always going to be on the edge. Like, do we want to ban that? Is that really too powerful? But
Yeah.
yeah, an outright like targeted Giro ban, I don't think would be something that would be justified, in my opinion.
It's possible that something for the future is now in Jiro. Come actually getting Class Reunion available in the UK properly. I know some people have it. Some people have it via basically European distributors rather than UK distributors. That interacts crazily with Jiro, and it may turn out that that's a problem. So maybe then either Jiro or the future is now will need touching. For now, we're perfectly fine. Jiro doesn't need anything. And honestly, I'm not perfectly convinced One with Nature needed anything, but One with Nature's casualty is sort of a follow-on to the past one. Because you'll remember in my last video, I talked about how, honestly, they hadn't done nearly enough to Ojiro.
Hmm.
One of the things people wanted to stop Ojiro was One with Nature, and getting rid of One with Nature does indeed leave Ojiro completely dead in the water.
Yeah,
Because,
I can see that.
yeah, the reason Ojiro won was he could guarantee 3 attacks would go through, and those 3 attacks would kill.
Yeah, and I guess a plus
So
two
yeah, you take
parts.
the One with Nature out, you can't guarantee that, and he's not going to be drawing and playing enough other attacks that it matters.
Right, because you will want to play 3 attacks, so if you can't draw enough, you kind of put yourself in a very awkward position if all 3 attacks, or 2 of the 3 attacks get blocked,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And Ojiro really showed what was potentially a problem with One with Nature, but also Ojiro showed the cost. Because, I mean, if you could survive a hit from Ojiro, the player would just go, right, I have no enhances this turn. I'm doing nothing. I'm not blocking anything. Just kill me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Ojiro would just dump his hand into this and have 0 defensive ability.
Yeah, that is true. I guess some people would then say that it is kind of awkward that you then need a deck that can kill in a single turn.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's just nature of the game. Sometimes you have the right answer, sometimes you don't, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying
it's
Ojiro
what it
wasn't a problem. I am
is.
just saying that Ojiro shows the cost to One with Nature really well as the upside.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, some people would then argue that you often don't get to see the cost because the upside is just so out there. But that was more of an Ojiro problem in that case, right? The ability to send out these really big attacks that get plus X plus X.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they've done this, right? Ojiro was such a problem, it made this look like more of a problem than it was. And I'm not going to say One with Nature wasn't a problem. One with Nature was also supporting a ton of other decks, and my Nomu deck was doing a very similar thing to Ojiro. Yeah, okay, maybe it wasn't as good at doing it as Ojiro was, but it was also a lot better at defending because, well, it was Nomu. I see the argument, certainly. My main issue with this was not the time to do this ban. This ban could have been done a lot earlier and saved us a lot of problems. Then the meta would have been very different. Things like Ball Might wouldn't be doing well either. But, I mean, is what it is. They could have done it then. It would have made that meta a bit better. Or they could wait until next set, because what I said in the last video was really One with Nature wasn't the problem. The problem was the lack of interaction with One with Nature. And we do have the one card that deals with that.
And it deals with it really well as well.
Yeah, Determine deals with it great.
And on top of that, it's a generic card, so it's not like a card that you need to put in, and it's like otherwise not good. It is just a good card, and it interacts with One with Nature as well. So
depends on how your deck's built. If your deck's built with good block modifiers, then it's actually a crap card.
That is true, yeah. But if your deck kind of wants, like if you're playing on something that wants to block with foundations, for instance, that's going to be good, generally speaking. It allows you to play a lot more foundations and attacks that you might not play because of the bad block modifier.
Yeah.
And I quite like that bit.
So that's the one piece of interaction we have right now, but come next set, we also get Body Rejuvenation. Body Rejuvenation is real cool to me. Because, yeah, okay, it has a bad block itself, but it has enhanced discard one card, this attack gets -2 speed. So it basically does exactly what One with Nature does to stop you from blocking, except in the reverse, it enables you to block. So yeah, okay, it means you need 2 cards to block 1 card, but they need 2 cards to push through 1 card. It's now even.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I would say usually you have fewer cards in your opponent when you block, but this is a Deku card, so, you know.
Yeah, there are some characters where that's definitely not true.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely something that works for One with Nature.
Yeah, I mean, my All Might 1 was the deck I took into the Ojiro meta. I went into their turn every time with 5+ cards, and had I had this, you know, that means I block at least 2 of Ojiro's attacks. Ojiro only throws 3.
And if Ojiro throws 3, that's no cards in hand at the end of that.
Yeah, and, you know, let's say I actually check this Body Rejuvenation. That's also, remove this, +2 health, oh look, their lethal turn is no longer lethal.
Yeah.
It's a really good card, because it's not just reverse One with Nature, it's also reverse burst speed.
It is. Right. And I really like that art, I'm not gonna lie, that art looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it is a nice shot at the beginning of the area.
Yeah, not really relevant, but I just had to point it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate it still. But the other thing I really like about this card is it's actually just a remix, or as Yu-Gi-Oh! Players would call it, a retrain of an old card, Future Poolside Date. And Future Poolside Date was my absolute favorite card from Mortal Kombat, just because of the staggering number of meme plays there were with that discard pile enhance.
Oh, that is weird. You can play that multiple times, right? If you don't block.
Yeah, so if you removed the cards above it, or if you picked it back up and put it back down, or anything like that, there were so many fun ways to use Future Poolside Date that, yeah, Body Rejuvenation doesn't do quite the same thing. But you'll notice also this has enhanced discard 1 card. That gets -X speed, X equals 8 minus your printed hand size.
Oh, nice.
So the difference with that is, yeah, if you're a 5-hander, you get a lot more out of it. But also if you're a 5-hander, it's a lot heavier a cost. In the My Hero format, the version we're getting is just a straight -2 speed, which actually for 7-handers is a lot better, and for 6-handers is about the same. Bearing in mind that 7-handers have less health than anyone else, kinda necessary that they get the good version of it.
Yeah. Also, Deku 3 has 5-hand size, doesn't he?
No, that's Deku 4.
Deku 4, sorry, the next Deku, yeah. I forgot the chibi one.
Deku 4 is basically an 8-hander. There's some shenanigans there, but...
Oh, right, yeah. The response.
But we'll talk about that at a later date. The important part here is this is actually significantly better than Future Poolside Date in terms of the discard ability, especially as actually discarding a card is far less of a cost in the My Hero format because cards are so much freer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that made One with Nature a significantly better card. It also makes the counterplay, the Body Rejuvenation, a significantly better card. I would have loved it if we could hold off on this ban list, see if Body Rejuvenation did the thing. And if Body Rejuvenation didn't do the thing, ban One with Nature then.
Yeah, I can see that argument, yeah.
I feel like this ban list came too late to save the previous meta, and too early to go for the next meta. Let's see what Jasko has to say to justify it, though. Why we made this decision. I've written previously about what the game design team looks at in order to make ban and Errata adjustments to best suit the needs of our players and formats. Here's a quick summary. Tournament data, professional gameplay assessment, community feedback. Yeah, basically people play this card a lot and hate this card a lot. As a general rule, we try to make as few adjustments to a format as possible. The goal is to create a fun format for players to enjoy while minimizing disruptions. I feel like this has been a major disruption. This has banned basically every deck in the meta.
I wouldn't say quite every deck.
I would say almost every deck. Certainly every deck on those symbols.
Maybe. I feel like even without that card, it'd still be really good.
A lot of decks can adapt, yes, but I mean, provisionals and RLEs have been won by Ballmite recently. Ballmite is completely dead in the water because there are 2 cards that do damage buffs, and with only one of them legal, he can't reliably push a 5 damage attack to 6 on Chaos, which means the Chaos Ballmite is just unplayable.
So it's almost more about the response than it is.
Oh, for Ballmite, it's about both, because he wants to hit with the attack, and the plus speed, or the plus pseudo speed, helps push the attack through. But yeah, it's more about the damage than about the actual pseudo speed.
Yeah, because with the pseudo speed, it's like, well, okay, you didn't make it speedy enough. That's your problem, quote unquote. But with the damage, at least you're given a chance to at least have a 6 damage attack.
Yeah,
even able to do it. Yeah.
Whereas as is, all he's got is basic training. That's a once per turn, so if the attack's blocked, he's screwed. And it's 4 cards out of his entire at least 50 card deck.
Yeah. So I guess it just limits the type of attacks that you can play, right?
Well, except he's also limited to ranged and weapon.
Yeah.
And combining both limits, I'm not sure there are even enough attacks that he can use. All Might's completely dead from this. My Kamui Woods deck is not exactly completely dead. He can still do the thing, but he now doesn't have the damage to kill.
Yeah.
So again, it's the damage that matters there. My Nomu deck is dead. We talked about that, though. Nomu's kind of a more defensive, less aggro version of Ojiro. So I'm okay with that going, but just there are so many other decks that this just kills.
It doesn't kill my Deku deck, but it's disappointing that it doesn't work in my Deku deck. Because of how Deku works. So my Deku deck doesn't really care about the first enhance, really. I mean, unless I have a lot of cards, then sure, why not? Which I often do. But it's the response ability. Being able to combine it with a card that cares about multiple copies of a certain foundation, giving you speed and damage buffs, and having multiple copies of On with Nature that you can build with Deku 2 because you already have a copy of On with Nature out, can just really scale up your damage really quickly. You can just like discard a card +1/+5 out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a shame. That bit is missing, the response to discarding a card. And I don't think there's anything similar to that.
No, I mean, there are other ways to get +1 damage, but most of them are a little bit more gated.
Yeah,
or rather, differently gated and more of a problem for that character. I've sort of mentioned before, in Kirishima, Homage to My Hero is completely free.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's just +1 damage to your everything.
I don't think that's on symbol. Is it?
It shares a symbol with Deku 2, but also at the same time, it doesn't matter that it shares a symbol with Deku 2, because Deku 2 doesn't do the same amount of building foundations during his attack turn. He doesn't get that +1 damage for free the way that Hiroshima does.
That is true, yeah.
So yeah, this top card on their watch list for several reasons. It creates a play pattern out of step with what they're trying to foster. Yeah, it makes things unblockable potentially. It definitely caused a lot of the Ojiro problems. So yeah, I can see that. It's a key component to the popular Earth strategies. Yeah, it goes in basically every Earth deck. It goes in basically every Chaos deck. It goes in basically every good deck. It was overrepresented in popular decks in all 3 of its symbols. Yes, but I mean, there are plenty of other cards that are really well represented.
I can't think of a single order deck which doesn't play Calling for Backup. I can't think of a single air or good deck which doesn't profit off Destined from Instant Success. I don't think that saying it's overrepresented is a really good argument. That is my personal opinion. I'm not like a very avid card player. I only played 2 card games very recently, but I just don't feel like saying a card is overrepresented is a really good argument. It just tells me that it's a good card, right? It's a staple card.
Yeah, and look at Chivalrous Competitor. Would you say Chivalrous Competitor was a good card, draw card?
It's a decent card. Yeah, I would say good. I wouldn't say broken.
I wouldn't even say it's a good card, draw card. I'd say it's okay at best and a lot worse than most of the card draw cards we have. It does also have the benefit of protecting your stage. So if you've got one card you need to protect from a seizing the advantage, Sure, that's nice. That's real nice.
Hmm.
What that is not, however, is 40 quid nice.
Oh yeah, for sure not.
It's a
Yes.
combination of the fact that it's not on redemption and that it does what it does better than any other card on Earth and possibly Chaos.
Yeah. So I guess it's just like the best out of all the worst cards that exist.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It
you
does a
don't have
thing
another
that those
option.
symbols don't do normally, and
Hmm.
in doing so becomes the best at its job, and therefore becomes a major staple card for every deck on those symbols, despite
Yeah.
not actually being that good of a card.
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember that because in Togoyami when I swapped to Chaos, I didn't really find much in terms of card draw.
Yeah, that's
Um,
basically it.
at least not anything which would cost me significant amounts of things of resources. Or playing attacks I don't want to play on that turn, yeah. But I guess it's really good in decks where you know you're going to hit the opponent anyway, so you don't care about them drawing a card for blocking. It might actually be busted even, right? You just flip to draw a card.
It's a staple card. It's not a busted card. There are
Yeah,
other cards that do what it does better on other symbols. I mean, we talked about Order, right? An Order has its flip, draw a card. If it's not the first enhance step, discard a card. On
yeah,
offense, that's just strictly better than this.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Being
I
a
think
staple card does not make a busted card.
I think maybe what they're trying to say with point three is not that it's a staple card. It's just the fact that it's so represented in every popular deck might be a hint towards it being really powerful. So
Yeah, I
in
mean, it's a hint that it's a
composed,
good card
yeah,
or that it fills a niche that nothing else does. But it's
but
definitely not justification for a ban. It's just a reason to look at it.
yeah, exactly, exactly, yeah. And that is what kind of concerns me that it's put with the other with the other 2 points as is it was equivalent in some way,
Yeah.
when it's more like we should look into this kind of thing, right?
I mean, to be
But
fair, it is a justification for having it on a watch list. It's just not a justification for banning it at all.
yeah, and I've seen that being done in other card games. So sometimes a bit worried when people bring up that justification. Just not a
But
fan of it.
the crazy one to me is Yu-Gi-Oh! Because bans in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are not made to make the format better. They are made to make the format different because there's no rotation in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's the only card game I'm aware of without rotation. My Hero, we haven't seen any rotation yet because it's a 10 set format and we've only got 4 out. But
Hmm.
there will be rotation. UniVersus has always had rotation.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, eventually we will lose set 1 and Foundations will suddenly have high block modifiers and it'll be real weird.
All right, yeah.
But hopefully by then we'll have some cards to replace the staple cards from set 1 that allow those strategies to still thrive even if they're not the same cards, don't do quite the same thing.
Hmm. Damn, then Jiro will be gone.
You'll have to play Jiro too. Oh, here's one they're getting to. Right, right. Apparently top cards from events have seen a diverse cast of characters. I mean, yes, since the last announcement, since they did stuff to Ojiro, even though Ojiro was still busted, nobody played him anymore, and so it created a bit more of a diverse meta. But yeah, as they go on to say, One with Nature still stood out, Earth was still a highly represented symbol. That's the problem here. I was talking about how it being a staple card of symbols doesn't prove it's a busted card. If that then makes that symbol a staple symbol, then we start looking at whether or not it's a problem.
I see, I see. I don't think I played enough Earth to make a
Well,
judgment about that. Yeah, I played against Earth a bit, quite a bit. But
I'm going to say
didn't...
right now, Momo has Death, Earth, and Evil. I did not even look at what he could do on Death and Evil.
Oh, okay.
Let's put it that way.
Right,
Earth
right.
was just clearly the superior thing to play him on.
Yeah,
So
I can see
yes,
that.
this is an issue. And I mean,
Mhm.
Earth's specifically strong because Earth has 2 different cards that are basically One with Nature, which is interesting because they've not banned Snack Time, which is the one difficulty One with Nature. It's more interactable, but also it's +1 speed and stun 1 rather than +2 speed. In some ways, it's actually better than One with Nature.
Yeah, I found it to be more annoying. If you put +2 on your one with nature on one attack, and I decide not to block it, then okay, whatever. If you snack time me, stun one, and I don't decide to block it, that stun one still stands there for the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
attack.
that's basically
Just
+1 speed to your
annoying.
everything for the turn.
Yeah, exactly. I just explained the basic of the game. Um, yeah, that's a really good card.
Yeah, and Snack Time's still perfectly legal, so Earth still has crazy stuff it can do. Just it
Mhm.
can't stack the both of them now.
I guess there is a bit more stun hate than there is modifying block hate, but that brings us back to what you said before, that we needed more cards like Determine, really, instead of banning the card.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't have the response, which isn't going to be the thing that makes it busted, but it's the
The
thing that I care about.
response really mattered for some decks, like Ball Might, like your Deku, like my Kamui Woods. It was not the bit that they banned this for.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
In fact, if they could just reprint One with Nature so that we've got enhanced discard a card and we've got response after you discard a card, your attack gets +1 damage, but they leave off the +2 speed or +2 pseudo speed, just make it discard a card for no effect as the enhance.
Mm,
That would be perfectly fine. Decks would still play that.
I
Not
see.
many decks. It would be a niche thing.
I would play it.
Yeah, I would
I
play
would
it.
actually. I
But
would
I'd
actually
play it in my
put.
Kamui Woods, and I'd play it in my Ball Might. I would not play it in my Nomu.
I would actually say what I would even prefer is if it just had the response without the enhance, and then give space for like a deadlock enhance or deadlock response.
No, I definitely feel
That
like it
gives you
needs a
speed.
way to self-trigger.
Okay, yeah. I personally wanted just something that triggers off other effects, but I can see it.
Yeah, you wouldn't use it if it can only self-trigger. But having the option to self-trigger needs to be there just so it's a functioning card on its own.
Hmm. Okay, you want to be functional zone. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
And yeah, that's what I'm seeing with this. What else we got? Combined with the fact that it creates play patterns we prefer not to be in the mainstream, and which we thought would get worse with the release of the upcoming Undaunted Raid expansion, we will led to the conclusion we need to take action. I don't know why you think this would get worse. You
think maybe-
specifically are releasing an anti-one with nature card.
I think maybe the fact that you play more cards not from your hand, which allows you to have more hand size, which allows you to discard cards for one with nature without it being too much of a cost. Maybe that is a problem.
So the issue I have with that possible reasoning is that a lot of the cards that let you play cards from outside your hand, in fact, require you to discard a card from your hand to do so. If you're having to discard cards anyway, is it really that big of a deal that you're not playing them from hand? It's the same minus hand size. It's the same thing.
I can see a problem maybe with something like Phantom Threat. After the attack receives a damage bonus, it gets +1 speed. Imagine you have 2-1 with natures out. You give it +2 fake speed, right? +1 damage, oh, +1 speed. +1 damage, oh, +1 speed again. You know? You just trigger +4 speed and +2 damage just out of nowhere with one card.
Yeah. But Phantom Threat has stupid interactions anyway. If Phantom Threat could be played in Tiger, it would get 4 triggers of itself off nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, just off using it's powerful or something. But Phantom Threat is a ridiculous card anyway. It doesn't work within the current rules. I was going to do an update on how keywords work, but seeing Phantom Threat, I need to wait for the new wording of Flash before I can do that.
Because I think the way you explained it, Flash triggers when you play it.
Flash just says skip the enhanced step.
Yeah.
Flash only skips the enhanced step when the card goes to start the enhanced step.
I see. Yeah. It doesn't end it like some of the Ida attacks do.
Yeah. And Phantom Threat wants it to end it in a way that it never has done, and in fact has actively been a thing in standard. If people will apply Flash to an attack, and then just the attack will still carry on with the enhanced step like nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically just a trait at that point.
Yeah. The weird thing is, I don't believe that they would do that, but the weird thing is if this response is really just meant for some kind of way to boost your attack with before the enhanced step happens, if that's really just what they want, but I doubt that.
No, they've specifically talked about the design of the card and how it ends the enhanced step.
Oh, okay, they did talk that, yeah, I see.
And yeah, I can see how that card interacts badly with One with Nature, but at the same time, that card interacts wackily with so many things. So, in their conclusion, the banning takes effect on Monday, June 12th, in accordance with their ban and errata announcement policies. The announcements made on the first Tuesday of each month, and changes take effect on the following Monday. We're continuing to monitor the health of formats, and while we have a few things we're keeping a close eye on, we're happy with the health of formats overall headed into the release of Undaunted Raid. Yeah, that's fair enough, I guess.
I think I understand that perspective. If you think about it, if it's such a controversial card, if you just get rid of it, there's definitely not going to be a problem.
Well, except that they've killed a whole bunch of otherwise viable decks.
That is true. Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, that is true.
And as I sort of said, Nomu was a problem. Kamui Woods was not. Ball Might was not. Deku 2, much as I hate him, was not an issue.
No, it wasn't. You guys just sucked. No, it was annoying, but not an issue, yeah. You could block things reasonably, and I wouldn't even use the enhance on One with Nature most of the time.
So yeah, personally, I think either this should have been done way earlier, or they should have waited. I'm not saying this was a bad decision. I'm saying doing it right now was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see how the meta evolves from here. And actually, we'll barely see how the meta evolves from here because we've got like 2 weeks of this being in effect before the next set's out.
Yeah, I mean, other decks would still be viable if One with Nature was out there, regardless of the next set, I would say. So we'll
Well,
probably still see some of them disappear.
yeah, we might see other decks come out for this, but also I don't see people building too much new just for 2 weeks. In fact, I might just not play for 2 weeks and wait for the next set.
Oh, fair enough. I definitely still want to try some things.
Well, it's killed every deck I've built, so.
Oh. You're making a good argument to ban One with Nature right now.
Well, as I keep saying, I'm not necessarily against the ban with One with Nature.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think it was necessary, but I think the issue is more the timing. My issue with this is certainly the timing. That I had so long to build these decks, and then I've got 2 weeks before I have to build entirely new decks for the next format. And in those 2 weeks, do I spend a bunch of money building an entirely new deck to play for those 2 weeks, or do I just not play for 2 weeks?
Yeah. My main issue is that I finally got a playset like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now it's banned. So why did I get that playset?
Yo, I opened an entire box just to get a
Yeah.
7th copy so I could have it in 2 decks, and even then, didn't get a full playset for the second deck.
Yeah, I didn't quite realize how good this card is, so I just traded it against other normal rares because, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, they're the same value, right?
Well, every other rare is, but this one was a fiver rather than a quid.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
you
yeah.
learn, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's all for this Ban and Errata video. It's gone on a little longer than I thought for just one card, but there was a lot to talk about with this one card. It's a very significant card.
Very controversial card too. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, there's been a lot of discussion around the potential for this ban, and, well, it's finally happened.
Yep.
See you in the next one. We'll talk about that a bit more. Bye.
Bye, everyone.